Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Voltron Legendary Defender Season 5, Episode 5. So yeah, we are almost at the end of this season of Voltron, and I'm interested to see where this comes to a close. Lotor is in charge of the Galra Empire now, and just overall it's looking like a kind of risky situation. Yeah, it's just things aren't going really according to plan, especially when it comes to Shiro. Shiro's definitely doing some questionable things, and I'm still thinking there's something going on with him, something like legitimate, like he's either not in control of himself, like he's being brainwashed, or something else is happening. I'm not sure what, but hopefully we'll find out. Otherwise, I don't really know where this episode's going to go at all, but I guess I'm interested to find out, so let's do so. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play, because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So this episode focused on three different things happening at once. So after they all kind of get together and everything, they're split up into three groups. Pidge, Hunk, and Lance are left with this robot guard, and they end up reprogramming him to have fun with them. And they're just dorking around, having a blast around the base and everything, and it's harmless fun, I guess, in the end. And they end up launching the dude into space, and it's like, just what even? It was one of those kind of little side stories that you see in a lot of different shows that is not really important to anything, but is still enjoyable to a degree. It's still one of those things that's like, you can't hate, you can't like be upset that they went that route, but at the same time, it's not going to affect anything, and it was kind of just meant for time filling. The other two main plot points and storylines in this episode were important, however. First, we had Elora going with Lotor to search Hagar's records. They're searching around, trying to find any information that can help them and everything. And at first, they're finding just some regular info and stuff. They talk about Honerva before she became Hagar and everything. And they start putting everything together that Hagar was Honerva at some point, but Lotor's refusing to believe it. Now, Lotor in this episode was very genuine seeming in his ideals and his desires to make things better, but I still don't trust him. Until we're given, I feel like, definitive proof that he's on the side of the coalition, I think he still has some kind of ulterior motive, some kind of plan that he's put into action that is going to lead him to probably going after all of this quintessence that was talked about. He's talking about bringing the quintessence to the other Galra so that they'll join his side, the ones who are still holding out. Which is, I mean, a fair plan, because quintessence has been one of the biggest motivators for the Galra. On the other hand, I believe Lotor's wanted quintessence this entire time. It's been one of his biggest motivators. So I just really don't trust him yet. Now, we still have one more episode of this season. So I definitely think that we're going to find out whether or not we can trust him in this last episode of season 5. But then let's talk about the third, and arguably one of the more, probably I'd say the most important one of the episode, because of how big of a deal it was with the reveal. So Keith is sent by the Blades of Marmora to extract a spy, a Galra spy from the base. And he gets in, has a little trouble, crashes the ship and everything, but he gets in and he finds her, and they start to work together to get out and everything. And so things start to go a little wrong at one point, and near the end, they definitely really start to have some trouble when Commander Truge, I think her name was, enters and starts to cause problems. They manage to escape after giving Truge the code to the super weapon. But the super weapon ends up being a living weapon, a beast of some sort. And it comes out and presumably devours Truge and her soldiers. So from what we can presume, they're dead. They're gone. They're not a threat anymore. And that kind of brings me to one of my biggest issues with this show in general. Not just the season or anything, or not even just the past couple seasons, but the show in general. They introduce a lot of generals and commanders and other like officers in the Galra Empire. A lot of them, and most of them are completely pointless. Like, most of them are in there for maybe an episode or two. Maybe they'll come back later on, but most of them, they're just kind of random characters that don't really have a point or a purpose. They're just thrown in just to say, like, oh, we have all of these. We're just trying to show how big the Galra Empire is because we have all of these generals and commanders and whatnot. And it comes across as just really forced and like they're trying too hard. It's like we already understand how big the Galra Empire is. We understood that from season 1. We don't need you to be like throwing in all of these other random characters that are not going to have any effect on the story and are just there to basically die. Like this character, Commander Truce, I believe she was only introduced in this episode. I do not remember her being in any other episode. Same with the other commander she was fighting. And they both died in this episode. They were pointless. Pretty much. I mean, when you have characters like Lotor's generals and stuff, like they've had a lasting effect, and they're still there working for Hagar now. You've had other generals. There's the one guy who was trying to fight for the throne in the last episode. He was an ongoing character. We've had a couple of them, yes, but I feel like they need to stop throwing in all these random generals and commanders and other leaders in the Galra Empire, because it makes it feel like they're trying too hard, and in the end it also makes it feel like they're just throwing in characters for the hell of it, for having more characters. It doesn't feel natural. So, but either way, so yeah, she and her soldiers end up getting devoured by this creature. And while they're leaving the base and everything, Kalaya, I think her name was, something like that, she reveals to Keith that she's his mother. She doesn't say it outright, but she's like, she said earlier on in the episode, it's like, I won't leave you again. And then, she said at the end there, it's like, because that blade used to be mine and I gave it to your father and all. It's like, it was something I had been thinking about during the episode, like, especially after I saw her hair looked eerily similar to his. And it's something that I'd been thinking about. It's like, we knew, I believe, that his mother was Galra before. Like, we found that out in a past season. I don't remember which one. I want to say season 3, but I'm not sure. But we did, I believe, find that out before. And so, I'm thinking about it. It's like, that's his mother, isn't it? And yeah. And even at the end, it didn't actually say it because it cut out and cut to the credits right before, like, he said it. It's obvious. It's super obvious. And as such, I hate to say it, but that kind of felt forced too. Not the fact that she is his mother, but the reveal, the big reveal. It felt like they were trying to make it this huge surprise at the end there. But, like, at the middle of the episode, you kind of already have guessed that. And so the fact that they were making it this big surprise, and then they cut off and leave it on, like, this cliffhanger, it's not even, like, it's not even a question of what he's going to say there. It's not like it's going to be this big twist when the next episode starts. By this point, everyone, I believe, will know what he's about to say, and it just comes across as like this forced cliffhanger for the sake of trying to raise dramatic tension or something. I don't even know. And this show has done that a lot, and I think it and multiple other issues that I've mentioned in the past with this show have been one of the reasons why it's never quite reached like the heights of other shows that I've reacted to. Star vs. the Force of Evil, Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, etc., etc. Those shows don't try to like force in these kind of things. Definitely, at least not as often. Maybe on a couple of occasions they have, but not to this level. Voltron does it like every season. It does something like this. It does some like big, grandiose reveal or surprise or something, and it doesn't really come as too much of a surprise most of the time. There are some exceptions. There are some exceptions where it does work. Like the reveal that Zarkon used to be a good guy and he was working with the king, the Altanian king. I can't think of his name right now. But the fact that that was a thing and that Hagar used to be was Zarkon's wife in the first place and that she used to be Altaian and stuff. Like, those were good reveals. Those were some legitimately good reveals that, while you may have seen them coming a little bit, there wasn't enough to really make them, I wouldn't say confirmed, but to really, like, hammer them in. To really, like, lock them into place as true headcanons that would become full canon. They were kind of just theories floating around at that point. Either way, even despite those issues that I do have, the show is still good. And while there have been some bad episodes and even some bad seasons, this season seems to be getting it right for the most part. Again, the entire way they handled that at the end of this episode was a little too much and just did not work in my eyes. But overall, like, the episode was still very good. The stories that this season's been telling is very good, and I still think it's leading up to a big betrayal from Lotor. And I really hope it is, because not that it wouldn't be like a surprise, really, but I feel it would be the right way to go in terms of the narrative of the show, as well as working for the character himself. Like, do you really think Lotor can be trusted? Like, there is no reason to trust him here. But there's one more thing I need to talk about with this episode, and that was the character who, after the group split up, had not been shown again. Shiro. Shiro was the one I believe was being led to the records room or something. Something like that. And after the group split up, he wasn't seen again this entire episode, and that concerns me. Because I've already said that during the course of this episode, during the course of this season, rather, I've been very concerned about what's been going on with him. Something is clearly wrong. He's been accepting Lotor way too easily. And has just been making some really terrible decisions. And they have seemingly worked out, but I think that's the point. I think that he is either brainwashed or someone has something against him, like something on him. And I think it might be Lotor. I think Lotor is either brainwashing him or has someone else doing so, or Lotor has something on him and is forcing his compliance. Because right now it just seems there's too much that just doesn't connect. And I'm leaning towards the brainwashing thing because in the other episode he had mentioned after Lance had tried to talk to him in the dream state they were in, when they came back to the waking world and everything, Lance asked him about it and he's like, I don't even remember that, basically. And that was a huge red flag. There's something wrong here, and I think that's why I'm leaning towards brainwashing, because if he doesn't remember that, that could be a sign that he was under control at that time. And so he doesn't remember having said that, because it wasn't really him, per se. But that is just a theory at this point, but something is clearly wrong with him. That much is, I feel pretty much guaranteed. I don't know what it is, though. But hopefully we'll find out by the end of the season. Well, next episode, basically. Because I definitely think that that this isn't quite the Shiro we know. But that might just be me. We'll see. In the meantime, tell me what you thought of this episode of Voltron Legendary Defender in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. So for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles, shed tears along the way, you're still standing, live, love, laugh another day.